Hi everybody. The question for this video comes from a caregiver with a parent who has a substance use disorder, in this case either alcohol or drugs. And this caregiver is saying, oh my gosh, what do I do? The situation is so impossible. So for this video, I'm going to add to substance use, alcohol, drugs, whatever, criminal charges, being in prison to this list, because there are a lot of close ties to all of these. And so I want to give a perspective on how this happens, the experiences of caregivers, the experience of the person who is addicted, who has been in prison, who's had a lot of criminal activity, and the effect on families and what you can do. Any type of addiction, mental health diagnosis, or being in prison can all relate to this use of substances, alcohol, drugs. And it definitely affects the insight of the person who is using substances, who has been in prison. But it also affects the families and the caregivers significantly. So I want to give both sides of the story. In my own family, I had an aunt who was addicted to alcohol. We would go through the house and we'd find bottles of vodka hidden in drawers and closets and everywhere. And she finally stopped drinking and changed her life totally and had a great life after that. But before that, it was a challenge. When I was a professional care manager, I had many clients who were addicted to substances, clients who had criminal histories. And these were really difficult situations for the family members because they got burned out. They just could not deal with it anymore, which is why I became involved. And these family members had constant worry about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my brother or my sister or my mom or my dad? And part of the challenge is that when these things happen, right, we feel like it's all coming at us. We're the caregiver. We're having to deal with so many issues. And the person on the other side is feeling like the same thing, but they use substances, alcohol, drugs to numb all that so that they don't have to deal with it because they feel like it is so much. So in this video, I'm going to share what family members experience and then what the person who is addicted or imprisoned experience. Then I'm going to offer some resources. So super, super important. Before you leave this video, go down below. There's going to be links to resources and a couple of articles that I've written for websites about addiction and substance abuse disorders and criminal activity and being in prison and just the bigger picture of this, because for caregivers in any situation, whether it's substance abuse or dementia or family disagreements, my recommendation is always to try to understand the situation as much as you can and gain as much education as you can so that you can then choose what you want to do. Because these choices are different for every caregiver. Nobody can tell you that there is one right way to do anything. So, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website's PamelaDWilson.com. Please share or follow these videos. A lot of hope, help, support on my website. So caregivers of persons who are experiencing substance use disorders or parents who have been in prison and they get out of prison experience a lot of emotional stress, worry, anger, frustration. They don't know if the next morning this person is going to be dead or alive because they're using substances or because they're out on the street. Some parents become homeless. And the foundation for these concerns is a lot of physical and psychological abuse that happens within families. So if you are in one of these families, it's very important to recognize this so that this does not affect you as a child. If you're dealing with these issues with a parent whose parents, right, your grandparents, possibly had substance abuse issues, or maybe they abused your parents physically or verbally. And so this kind of carries down into family. So it's very important to recognize this so that you don't repeat these generational patterns. And so all of this makes it really hard to understand why this person with an addiction or who's been in prison is doing this to the family, right? And so to give you a perspective on this, after you watch this video, again, go to the links below. There's going to be a link in there to a song called Save Me. And that song may give you a better perspective of how these individuals who are addicted or in prison feel about life and their choices and what's going on. Because if you can gain a better understanding about that, not that I'm telling you to stay, right? It's just gain a better understanding of the other side of the story so that you can understand. And it may be impossible for them, depending on where they are, to understand what they're doing to you as the caregiver, or even to conceptualize that they are doing this to somebody, because they feel so, the word is damaged. They feel so damaged. They feel so injured. They feel so hopeless, just as caregivers in these situations watching their loved ones feel. So I'm not minimizing the impact or the difficulties on either side. I just want to present both so that you have the information and you know where to find education and support if you choose to stay in this situation with your loved one and be that caregiver. So when you look at being an adult caregiver for a parent with any of these issues, if you have children, it's very important to realize the impact of all of this on your children. Because again, you're passing these situations down from generation to generation. Children who see their grandparents with addiction issues, or they've been in prison and they're constantly involved in more criminal activity and in and out of jail, that can affect these children. Children can experience anxiety and stress, and they can do worse in school. And this can affect their future life, and it's also possible that they may be more likely to get involved with alcohol or drugs or in prison. Sometimes these children are taken away from parents. They're taken away by the foster care system. So it's this whole spiral of events that can happen. So recognizing this as an issue in your family is actually a very good thing. So if you're an adult with children caring for a parent who has these issues, consider the effect of this on your children and seek education. So the challenges of caring for a parent with substance abuse or criminal activity, it's multi-level, right? As that caregiver, you feel like you have to take care of everything, meaning, finding a place to live for your parent, moving them in with you, paying for everything for them because they probably can't work. You may have legal problems. This can result in challenges to your marriage. It can upset your work-life balance, your career, everything. So many caregivers and the families that I helped who had siblings or parents in these situations would wake up every day, honestly, wondering if mom or dad or a sibling was alive, wondering if this person who was out living on the streets would be found dead one day. And in some cases, that is exactly what happened. In others, the situation's improved. There's also this situation where if parents are living with you, things in your house may disappear. They may be taking things to go to the pawn shop to buy alcohol or drugs because this is such a habit for them. So this just gives a picture of like the stress of family members, because this home that you once felt safe living in now, if you have this parent coming there, might not feel safe. Because of all this ongoing conflict, you're worried that they're going to steal things. If they have keys to your house, they may break in. I had a family that I helped, and one of the children had a substance abuse problem, and they would occasionally sneak into the parents' home and steal things. And it was like the parents would know that this person was there because something would have been moved or something was different, but yet they never heard what happened. All they would recognize is that the next morning there was a window open somewhere and things were missing. So it really can be a scary family situation. And then the grief on the part of the caregivers, as many of you know, you feel like you've lost this loved one, like mom or dad or your brother or sister is no longer that person who they were. So you're going through a lot of grief. So here's the other resources I want to give you. And again, click down below. If you're in this situation, get help and education for yourself so that you can just have a better understanding of both sides and you can choose to remain involved or not. So 2 resources. One is Al-Anon, and that is support for people who are affected by another person's drinking. So they have groups and counseling and a lot of education. That phone number, 888-425-2666. Another resource is SAMHSA, SAMHSA. It's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services organization. I'm going to give you the number for general questions. It is 877-726-4727. And again, it will be linked below. Then if you have a parent who is involved in criminal activity, if they've been in and out of prison, any family member in this situation, there are what are called reentry programs, REENTRY. And again, if you look at the link below, there's an article that I've written about prison reentry. There's programs in every state, so there's not probably one source to go to. Depending on where you live, you want a local source because you want to have access to this location and try to help get your person into that program. So just Google prison reentry programs in California, in Colorado, in New York, in Texas, Florida, North Dakota, wherever you live, and you can find the information. So my advice, if you are a caregiver in this situation, do not wait, seek advice, get the education so that you can decide to stay in and try to help this person, or confirm that you've done everything that you can and you can no longer help, and you're going to give them a resource and hope that it works out the best that it possibly can. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Please share this video with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support. There are over 800 videos here on my YouTube channel answering questions caregivers ask. I have a podcast called The Caring Generation. Over 170 episodes. My website, Pamela D. Wilson, has online caregiver courses, my book, a whole caregiving library full of articles, ways to contact me, to talk to me for a consultation. So thanks for being here. I hope you all have a fabulous day, and I will see you again soon in another video.